Hello guys, how are you doing? I'm at Shrewsbury station once more this morning, and I'm going to be taking a journey that I've wanted to do for a while now. It's the Heart of Wales line, but it's going all the way down to Llanelli and then on to Swansea, which is the end of the Heart of Wales line. And then what I'm going to be doing after that is coming back to Shrewsbury via Cardiff. Now I'm going to tell you how to do this really cheaply. So why don't you stick with me for the video. I'll be going through a few facts and figures on the way and tell you how to get an amazing fare towards the end of the journey. I hope you enjoy it. Let's go make a trip. My ride on the entire length of the Heart of Wales line today would be with this two-car Class 150 diesel unit. And to be honest, I was hoping for one of the smarter looking Class 153s in the new Transport for Wales livery. But not to worry, we'd be meeting one of these later on in the journey anyway. So the journey itself, the Heart of Wales line from Shrewsbury to Swansea, it takes just over 4 hours to complete on 121 miles of mainly single track line. And after branching off at Craven Arms, the line traverses some fantastic and remote scenery by way of some grand viaducts and impressive tunnels before reaching Llanelli in the southwest of Wales and reversing here across to Swansea where the train terminates. And my trip today was going to be a circular route, so I'd then head east to Cardiff before turning north after Newport and heading back to Shrewsbury on the less impressive but much quicker Welsh Marches line. After choosing my seats, I popped out to give the window a quick wipe, and I found some train windows to be quite dirty when trying to make videos in the past, and I certainly wasn't getting caught out today. It all helps, doesn't it? We set off on time, and yeah, it's pretty quiet this morning. Nice and clean inside though, which was great to see. Well, it didn't take long before I decided it was time for breakfast. There's no trolley service on this long journey, so I thought I'd bring my own and just try and replicate, to an extent, the sort of service you could expect if travelling in a much more luxurious setting. After Bucknell we call in at Knighton, which is our first stop in Wales. In fact, I think the line on the station must be right on the border with England at this point. The driver here disappears into this small cabinet on the platform. I'm not sure exactly what's inside, but I presume he needs to activate something which allows the train to proceed on to the next section of the line. Now, if you know any more about this, please let me know in the comments below. Shortly after night we reached the fantastic curved viaduct at Nuckless. 13 arches carry trains across the River Teme and the small village of Nuckless below. The next notable feature is the first of 4 significant tunnels along the route near Llangunno. Look out for the abandoned trackside hut as we exit. Also good to see Transport for Wales have installed USB and conventional power on these trains, which is obviously essential on a long distance journey such as this one. So after about an hour and a half, we reached the first significant Welsh town, I guess, which is Llandrindod, Wales. Don't you think the station building on this side looks like one of those Hornby model railway buildings you get? The country station, maybe? Anyway, I say significant because what I really mean is this station is one of only 5 stations along the line that has a passing loop, and it is therefore here that we need to wait for the other train on the line heading north. It is also at this point where there's a crew change and time for everybody, including myself, to get a bit of fresh air. I had a wander up the platform to have a look at the beautiful signal box here, which also looks like something out of a model railway in my opinion, and it was then that the train headed north started to come into view. It was indeed the Class 153 I was hoping for from earlier on, a single car unit which looked very smart as it approached the station, I thought. So once we got going again, I thought it was an appropriate time to do the toilet review. And the toilet was bigger than I was expecting and was therefore great from an accessibility point of view. The door locking mechanism is of the latch lock variety, which I tend to like. All the other buttons worked as they should. A nice big mirror for me to do my toilet wave. It was never going to be overrun with passengers on this service, but first impressions were that it was bright and reasonably clean and tidy. The washing area was stocked up with soap, water, and the hand dryer also functioned correctly. So yeah, top marks to Transport for Wales for their improved toilet facilities on these trains. It's probably one of the most important considerations for any passenger when taking a journey such as this. You've probably noticed already that there are some fantastically well cared for stations along this route. Now here's another one at Llandrindod, Wales. Now I think a lot of the stations are looked after by the local communities in partnership with Transport for Wales. We now climb up towards Sugarloaf Mountain, at which point the line is 250 metres above sea level. Now look out for the remains of the old platform at Sugarloaf Halt and the sign marking the summit shortly after. We then enter a 915 metre long tunnel which carries us under the Black Mountains before emerging to spectacular views towards Kinghordy and beyond. And it also gives me an opportunity to practice my newly found skill, the tunnel wave. We're descending now on the 1 in 60 gradient, and you may have noticed that I've moved to the other side of the train just to try and get some footage of the other spectacular viaduct at Kinghordy. The footage from the train doesn't really do it justice, to be honest, so here's a stock photo I found on the internet which will give you some idea of how impressive it looks. Okay, so I thought by the time I arrived at Kinghordy, I'd have been travelling on the same train for getting on towards 2.5 hours, and it would probably be time for some lunch. Now Kinghordy is not known for its abundance of street food sellers on the platform, but Fortunately, I was again prepared for this moment, and so it was out with the tablecloth, and this time I had a real treat in store. It was a light lunch really, assorted grapes, feta and some locally sourced cheeses, together with a few mixed olives which were all washed down with a nice glass of supermarket standard Rioja. Unfortunately, I omitted to bring any cutlery or plates this time round, but I'll try and make even more effort next time, I think. And if you want to try this, I would definitely recommend bringing your own tablecloth, as it does add a touch of elegance to the inside of any train you happen to be travelling on, especially the Class 150 in my case. Well, that was rather nice, and by the time I'd finished we were heading towards Llandelo, one of the nicest villages in Wales apparently. And incidentally, Llandelo is one of only 7 stations on this route, between Craven Arms and Llanelli, that it's not a request stop. 22 out of the 29 are, but some, like Sugarloaf we passed earlier on, are currently closed to passengers. Now every time I query this with Transport for Wales, I get a kind of a standard response which says something like it's to do with the platform length and single door exits and social distancing apparently. But I don't know how long this is going to go on for, but some of these stations have been closed for months now, and I would have thought the train guard could open the door, step onto the platform away from the passenger getting on or off the train. If you've got any thoughts on this or have a better explanation as to what's going on, then do let me know in the comments below. Right guys, I'm about 3 hours and 40 minutes into the journey down the Heart of Wales line from Shrewsbury to Swansea. There's nobody else in the carriage at the moment. I think there's probably been about half a dozen people get on and get off through the duration of the trip so far. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. I've made a couple of attempts at some catering. It's all do it yourself because, as you're probably aware, there is no trolley service available on this route. I think there sometimes is in the summer, but certainly not at the moment. Well, I've really enjoyed it so far. It's been nice weather. The route is very scenic. Depending which way you go, Swansea to Shrewsbury, doesn't really matter. It's either way, it's still around about 4 hours and 10 minutes. But when I get into Swansea, I'm going to be taking another train all the way back to Shrewsbury via Cardiff. So stay tuned guys, because I want to show you how I've managed to get this circular trip for a really cheap price, and I'll be giving you a few pointers as to how you can do that too. So thanks for watching so far, and I will catch you again in a little while. Cheers for now. Yeah, so we're on the final stretch now as the train reverses at Llanelli and travels along the River Lougher estuary with views out towards Carmarthen Bay in the distance. It's such a contrast in scenery to earlier on in the journey, isn't it? At the time of my journey, there had been a big issue with the discovery of cracks in the Hitachi Class 800 train bogies. They were consequently withdrawn from service for a while whilst checks were carried out, and you can see here the depot just outside Swansea at Morver Road was pretty full as we went past.
Service to London Hamilton, calling at Newport Parkway, Bridgend, Cardiff Central, Newport, Bristol Parkway, Swindon, Didcot Parkway.
So I'd finally arrived at Swansea, the end of the Heart of Wales line, and I had a bit of time here to go and get a cup of tea before catching my second train, which would take me all the way back up to Shrewsbury. I thought the station frontage was quite nice from the outside, but there wasn't much else to see there, to be honest. Anyway, it was soon time to get back on board, and I was pleased to find a Class 175 two-car unit waiting at platform. It was pretty busy, but I did manage to find a seat which would be my home for the next couple of hours as we journeyed back to Shrewsbury. So let's talk about prices. Now, the best price I could find for an adult return, no rail cards from Shrewsbury to Swansea, going down on the Heart of Wales line and coming back via Newport, was £29, and that's basically 2 advanced singles as shown here. I did it for £16 10p. How so? I used TrainPal and bought a return to King Hawdy. Now obviously you just stay on the same train, split ticketing essentially, but make sure you route the return via Newport as shown here. It doesn't work on all the trains, but for the specific ones I took, it certainly did. I'm not endorsing TrainPal, I'm certainly not getting paid to advertise their company. It's just that it worked for me, but it may work on other ticket selling sites too. Now if you do try it, let me know how you get on. I'd be really interested to see if anybody else manages to get the same deal. Well, we made good progress up the Marches line, and we're soon arriving back into Craven Arms to complete the loop. Okay guys, just back at Shrewsbury. What do you think of that for a price? Not bad, eh? I'll tell you what though, the train coming back from Cardiff via Hereford was really busy, and I would have much preferred to have returned via the Heart of Wales line, believe it or not. Do you know, it was like a different world out there, and that was probably the most enjoyable thing about it. Well, I hope you've enjoyed it anyway, and maybe it's given you a couple of ideas for a trip of your own. especially the dining experience. So until the next time guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on another video soon. Cheers for now.